Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and Lind has released on the CN version of Girls Frontline 2, so we do have her kit now with the numbers, and so I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at it now to get an idea of how well she's looking like she's going to work within the Corrosion team, but also if there's any potential that she could fit into other teams. Because one thing we couldn't see before was not only just the numbers, but we also didn't know how her dupes worked as well. We've had kind of a, it seems like the last few units they've been releasing on the CN version have really liked their V1s. Some of them not needing them, but the V1s have been really, really good. Not like a Vector or Springfield level, but they have always been good and a good idea to pick up if you really want to invest in whatever team they work with. So let's just go ahead and take a look and see how she works. Now, the CN people who play on CN are currently testing her. I'll probably do a follow-up video to actually see what she looks like in practice with the kit. But I think I can get a good idea since Corrosion right now with Klukai is currently my favorite team overall. And so Lind will almost certainly be a must pull. It's just going to be, well, I'm pulling everybody, but is a must pull in terms of use for me. And so one big thing here, we have Candy Stockpile, a passive debuff. So we've got this at the end of action, increases Confectant's index by 1 point. We didn't know how much it gave, so now it shows that it is giving us 1 point. Remember, the Confectant's index is going to be important to her kit because one of her skills wants her to be at max Confectant's index to fully take advantage of it. So I was hoping it'd be a little bit larger there, but it is 1 point. And then you have her debuff Honey Trap that she puts out at the start of round, applies Honey Trap to all enemies. Now, I don't remember this on the initial look at the kit, but this has a cooldown of 1 round, meaning it's every other round she's going to put this debuff out there. So that's kind of a nerf to the idea of what I thought it was how it was going to work. I thought it was going to pretty much always be available. I'm going to assume it's probably in one of the dupes that it removes that cooldown, because that'll be basically doubling the value of Honey Trap. So we know that, and so we'll kind of have to look at how the rotation could potentially work with the skills that interact with it. So when the enemy with Honey Trap dies or when an ally deals corrosion damage, Lind gains 1 stack of sugar. When the number of stacks of sugar held by itself exceeds 5, before attacking enemies with Honey Trap triggers the effect of Honey Trap. Afterwards, Honey Trap is consumed. So that's a lot of words on it. The big thing is, if they have Honey Trap, she's stockpiling the buff sugar, which we do have the details on it up here. Increases corrosion damage dealt by 1%. This can be stacked up to 10 times and cannot be dispelled. So this can be a 10% damage buff if you get all the way up to the 10. I'm going to guess dupes are going to increase that stack limit, potentially making it infinite. Just for the fact that we've seen that with other kits in other units. Where were we on here? And so we have that. So that's what sugar is. So as you're accumulating those stacks, once it exceeds 5, when she's getting ready to attack somebody with Honey Trap, it triggers the effects of triggers it. And so the effects of Honey Trap, where does it state though? On here, Honey Trap. Yeah, upon trigger, Lind applies 3 random powerful debuffs to the holder, and I think that's going to be really key with her. Not only is she going to do a lot of damage when we look at her kit, but she's going to be putting out massive amounts of debuffs. Now, I don't know how this works when you pair it with other debuffs per se, and can it trigger a debuff that the boss already has, maybe from another ally putting it on them, causing it to just refresh it versus, or is it going to say, hey, this debuff's already on them, so it'll pick 3 different ones. Like, it'll never pick one that's already on the boss, making it very easy to get a lot of debuffs. I'll kind of have to see how that works when they're testing it. Because if it excludes triggering ones that the boss already has, that could be pretty huge and pretty much getting the maximum amount of debuffs on them, because she wants a lot of debuffs to do damage. It then dispels one of their buffs. She performs her support action, which does corrosion damage equivalent to 80% attack and 1 stability damage. And then it's considered a Honey Trap itself is a corrosion debuff itself, and it cannot be dispelled. So that's what happens when it gets triggered. So a lot of her kit, like, you can kind of get a really good idea just in this and how she works. The biggest thing is she really wants to be with the Corrosion team, just by looking at the fact that it's going to ramp up more the more Corrosion people you have, especially like even Klukai. Klukai can do her double ultimate, especially if you have a V6, and you can do it pretty much every turn. Right there, I believe that's going to give her a ton of stacks. You have Peridia with Mishti doing a ton of corrosion on her support actions. Right there should max stack her right off the bat because she can only go up to 10. And then as soon as she attacks, she's going to pop this on the boss, putting a ton of debuffs on him. And this is going to be every other turn. And did it say a timeline on these? 3 random tileout, and it doesn't say how long the debuffs land or stay on them. So we'll have to see what the turn duration is on the debuffs. Maybe it's only a turn, because there's got to be a negative to the fact that there's a cooldown of honey traps. So I'm going to guess maybe it only lasts for a single turn, and then it'll rotate out. So you'll have a turn where it's not available with the way it's set up. So that's the passive, though. A lot of her kit's right there. I mean, that's a lot of damage just by itself. So let's look at the skills here. So basic skill, basic attack, doesn't look like there's anything special to it. It's just your standard basic attack. So we have the first skill, Heavy Saturation, skill AoE debuff. No confectants cost, cooldown of 1 turn, and stability damage of 2. So this one selects a direction and deals AoE corrosion damage equivalent to 100% attack to all enemies. The 100% attack within a 6-tile fan-shaped area in the selected direction. For each debuff held by the enemy, increases the damage dealt by 5%, up to a maximum of 30%. And I mean, with the way her kit works and the entire corrosion, I think you should be able to easily get up to that 30%, especially if her debuff, the triggered debuffs, does not copy one that they already have. That will make it even better and much easier to hit this. And then before skill usage applies 1 random, so then before you even do it, you get another debuff on top of them. So alongside our honey trap and that one, you should be able to easily get 4. And so 1 powerful debuff to all enemies within effective range. And then after skill usage, increases confectants index by 2 points. And this one has a cooldown of 1 turn. So to me, this is going to be one you're going to use every other turn. So, because then you get the 1 point from here, and then you can use that. That's 3. And that's going to be important because when you get to her next skill here, which is Overload Burst, this one has a confectants cost of 4, and then it has a cooldown of 0 turns, and you should be able to get that confectants cost of 4 every other turn because you're getting 2 from this and then 2 from this in the course of those 2 turns. So you should be able to rotate between both of these skills. And then deals AoE corrosion damage equivalent to 100% attack to all enemies within a 6-tile radius. Before skill use, if confectants index is at max. That's the big thing here, though. Even though you might be able to do this every other turn, if you're not at max, it reduces the damage quite a bit because you want to utilize all those stacks of sugar that you have to really ramp up the damage here. And so, just a big hard-hitting attack, but it hits all enemies, can do a lot of damage, but it is AoE. Now, if you remember, there's a fixed key. I can't remember if it's this one or this one. There is a fixed key that makes it do even more damage if it's a single target. Kind of similar to how Klukai has in her dupes the ability to do more damage to a single target with the boss, and also triggering her ultimate twice. So we have that. And actually, you can, yeah, you have it right here. It does 30% more damage if it hits only 1 target. So that's going to make this skill good for bosses. And then we have Sugar Overload, which is her ultimate. Just a cooldown of 1 turn, confectants index cost of 0. So actually, you could alternate between skill 1 and ultimate, only triggering her, this one right here, when you're maxed capped on confectants index. What the ultimate is applies ketoacidemia to all enemies within an 8-tile radius. Upon skill activation, it triggers all corrosion debuffs held by the enemy units within effective range. Triggers all corrosion debuffs. So is that basically triggering the dots? Like Klukai's dots that she has on them? That's pretty huge. That's like a HSR Kafka almost. Held by the enemy units with effective range. After skill use, Lyn can use a Losum Shot, Heavy Saturation. Okay. Yeah, so you actually probably are going to rotate, because this one is, you get an extra command after it. I forgot about that. So she does her ultimate, then she can do one of her skills again, or if she wants to, for some reason, use her basic. I don't think you're ever going to use her basic, though. And so she can just go from this and rotate right into the other ones. That's potential huge damage right there. So overall, her kit looks really good, but we've pretty much seen this. We just got the numbers now. in how the debuffs work. And oh yeah, we didn't look at ketoacidemia, but ketoacidemia is for each debuff held, and like I said, it should be pretty easy to get, like up to 6, like on that other one for that 30%. The holder receives 5% more corrosion damage from Lind up to a maximum of 30%. So 6 debuffs. That's the goal, getting 6 debuffs on the boss. 3% or 30% damage increase. But the one thing that sucks with it is specific to Lind's damage. So you can't use, this isn't going to power up your Klukai or any of that. But she's going to do a lot of damage, which makes sense. I mean, she is the same class. So overall, really good there. And so that is all the skills, but let's go ahead, just a quick summary of the fixed keys here, which we had looked at in the past. So at the start of round, gains quick barrier. Nothing too crazy with that one. Fixed key 2, heavy saturation, overload burst. After skill use, gains additional 5 additional tiles of movement. And that's really situational as well. Can be probably useful in situations, but nothing too crazy. Fixed key 3, this is the one that's specific to Mishti, and I think one that you're probably going to want to use on her in most situations. Selects one ally on the field. The selected ally will be unable to move or use any skills for the entire battle, but decreases defense for all enemies by 15%, and this lasts until the selected ally dies. Lin gains 1 instance of extra action as well. This is going to be big on Mishti because it pairs well with her expansion key that locks her in place as well and does something very similar to this. And while she's using that, after she activates that one skill that puts her in place on Mishti, she can do damage without really doing anything in that point. And so this isn't going to be as big of an impact on her. Now, you could use this on someone else too. I wouldn't do it, because if you shut down somebody else that doesn't have the expansion key Mishti has, then this is kind of useless. Who knows? This might work with other units as well in the future. We'll just kind of have to see. But kind of a unique kit, or a unique key that it pairs really well with Mishti in that instance. I'm wondering how they may do this with other characters, where they make them like work really well together. Fixed key 4, Overlord Burst. If the skill only hits one enemy, increases damage. We already looked at that one. This is going to help with her dealing with bosses, and it's not tied to dupes like Klukai is. Don't know how significant that'll be in terms of being able to do boss damage instead of just doing a lot of AoE, but we'll kind of have to see. But 30% is pretty significant. If Lind has sugar, cleanses 1 debuff from self before attacking, so she can keep debuffs off herself. That'll be very good for some of the bosses, like the one I think the current one we're fighting in Gunsmoke. You want to remove that debuff that it puts on you, and then you get a bonus buff from removing it. So that'll be very good in situations like that. Then you have Sugar Overload. Before skill use, gains critical rate boost 2 for 2 turns. That one's going to be huge on damage as well. And you can kind of see which ones they pick as the recommended keys up here. Overload Burst. The one if you hit a single target, easy. And the crit rate boost one. So those are the 2 big ones. And then you have the situational. If you have Mishti, you have her expansion key. You're selecting that one. And then, like they say, fixed key 5. They even mention it right here. To cleanse Gunsmoke debuffs to get buffs in exchange. It says it right there. That's exactly what I was thinking. Alright, so let's go into the dupes. This is the one thing we have not seen yet. So let's see how powerful you can get her if you want to heavily invest into her or spend a lot of money. So V1. And I think this is just a trend they've been going with the latest units, is the V1s seem to be really good on all units. And so V1 at the start of battle for each ally present. Now, I don't know if that counts summons or anything. Not that you're pairing her with a team that has summons right now, but that could be something potential. I mean, there's only 4 of them that you're really going to use in the corrosion team. So does that give her an extra stack if you have like Papasha or someone? Not that it's going to be anything significant. But she gains 1 stack of sugar for each ally, increases the maximum stacks of sugar to 30. So I told you it was going to increase the stacks somewhere in the dupes. So it starts at 10, and this takes it all the way to 30. And if you think about all the dot damage that Klukai does when she does her ultimate back and forth, so that's like 6 by itself there. Then you have Peridia that's going to come in and do her 6 support actions. If you have her all the way up to V6, she can then do 10. So you can get 10 there. I believe you can get now 6 from Klukai. Maybe more. I could be wrong on that. Someone can let me know in the comments. And then you have Mishti doing corrosion damage. You're getting a lot of stacks there as well. And then if you think about it, let's see. Depending on how you work it, if you have her potentially attack first, then have them do that, and then on the second round, have your teammates go first, I think you can get all the way to the 30, is the way I can think of it. Because I don't, does it remove the stacks of sugar when honey, I think it removes them, doesn't it? I think as soon as it pops, it's supposed to remove it. Where does it say that? Triggers a funny afterwards. Oh, maybe once you exceed 5, you just always trigger honey trap when an enemy has it, and they're permanent. I don't see anything that says she's losing them. I thought she did. I thought they got consumed. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone can let me know in the comments if I'm missing something here. I thought they were consumed, but it looks like they're not. So you just permanently increase her damage by 30% with the V1 once you get it to 30. And like I said, very easy to pull off with Klukai, Peridian, Mishti. And then enhances the effects of sugar. Now it's 2%, so it's actually a 60% damage increase if you get it all the way to 30 stacks. So very big there. And that one, like for me, I will almost certainly get the V1 just because Corrosion's one of my core teams, and that just seems really big. We'll have to see how the testing is. I could be wrong on how the stacks work. And so just let me know in the comments if I'm wrong there. I'll pin it at the top if they do get consumed. I'm just missing it for right now. V2 increases the damage dealt by the next active skill by 15%. So just when you use Sugar Overload, which is her ultimate, the next skill she uses just gets another 15% damage increase to it. So just a 15% bump every other turn. This is every other turn because you can use the ultimate every other turn. And there's no reason not to because you immediately are allowed to use a skill after it. So that's just a straight 15% every other turn increase. Enhances the effects of ketoacidemia. The holder received 12% more corrosion damage from Lind. Up to, oh my goodness, the V2 looks huge too. What was it originally? It went from 5% up to a maximum of 30. So from a 5% to a 12% up to, so that's a 42% damage increase. Man, the V2 is pretty big on damage looking as well. They just making the dupes even better and better with every new unit. So we got V3 here. Removes the cooldown for applying a honey trap. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Now this is going to happen every single round versus one, meaning they're always going to have honey trap, which means this is going to trigger every turn. And as you saw, that was big damage there. So now that it doesn't have the cooldown, that basically doubles the value of honey trap. And then one honey trap is triggered, increases the number of random powerful debuffs applied by 3? Wait. Is that saying it's putting 6? Because it's 3 already by default. And V3 is now putting 6. How many debuffs are there in the game? So she's just going to put 6 debuffs. She's just going to put every debuff on them with her V3. Increases the damage multiplier by 120% attack and increases crit damage by 15%. Holy crap. I think we may be seeing a potential hybrid team coming into play here. I can see with this. You can pretty much just use them as heavy debuffers. Because, I mean, you just bring her with, like, you don't even need the full corrosion team. You just need enough to get the stacks up to 5 on sugar. And if they don't get consumed, then she's going to trigger this every single turn. I might be wrong on this, but that seems really powerful. You pretty much can permanently put 6 debuffs on them with their V3. I may be wrong, but that's what it's sounding like here. It looks really good. And then it increases damage multiplier to 120% attack, and of course, increases crit damage. So just more damage overall. And then V4 applies 2 stacks of sustained dependence. So her heavy saturation skill puts that, which sustained dependence, any debuffs held cannot be cleansed. For each cleanse resisted, 1 stack is consumed. This is considered a neutral effect and cannot be dispelled. So the boss is not going to be able to cleanse it, and any attempts to cleanse it will consume a stack. I don't think that was anywhere else in her kit. That's just something that comes straight from that, doesn't it? Yeah, that's just part of this. Like, there's nowhere else that comes from. So that is specific to this one. I'm guessing there's going to be bosses that can cleanse these debuffs pretty easily or something. And that's going to be really nice to keep those 6 on top of them. And then increases the effective range of the skill from a small fan-shaped area to a bigger fan-shaped area. To the left and right of the original. For each debuff held by the enemy, increases the damage dealt by 10% up to 60. So it went from 30 to 60. So 60% more damage on that one as well. Increases damage multiplier to 120% attack. And increases stability damage dealt by 1 point. Okay. So it makes it do more damage on overload burst. And then an overload burst is... Yeah, it's a skill 2. That one's the big, the one that wants the confectance index points. Before skill use, if confectance index is at max, increases crit damage by 20% for each stack of sugar. Okay, no, just, okay, I was reading it wrong. Increases crit damage by 20%, and then for each stack of sugar, increases damage by 10%. Okay. That one's huge as well. Is that literally saying that I don't see a limit on damage increase here? Increases damage multiplier by 10%. And if you have 30 stacks, is it literally saying that you're getting up to 300% damage increase for overload burst? It's already at 100, so is that taking it all the way up to 400? I don't know, that's pretty crazy on that one. I'll have to see these on video, because I know there's one of them that I think in the platoon C is in, there is a whale that like V6 is everything, because he's able to test like all of them on V6 from borrowing them. We'll have to see how these all work. But that seems pretty insane as well. And then V6, after skill usage, increases confectance index by 3 points. If Lind has 10 stacks of sugar, reduces the cooldown of the skill by 1 round. After skill usage increase, oh, it went from 2 to 3. So that one goes from 2 to 3. And this one's 1 every turn, so that's 4 in a single turn. And then immediately after this one, that'll bring it up to 5. I might be looking at it wrong. Oh, reduces the school. Oh no, the cooldown is reduced by 1. I wonder what the rotation will be at V6. Because if you're reducing it by 1, that means there's no cooldown. You can use this every single turn. But and then you get the 1 here. But when are you? Oh, I see. So if it's every single turn, I see. V6 is making it so that you're always going to max cap confectance index on this skill. So that was the area I was seeing. The problem here is you're going to have to wait 3 turns to max cap the confected index here. Because you're going to get 2 from using this. You have a cooldown of 1 turn. You get 1 here. But you need to get to 6. And so you have to go through this one. You'll go through the passive 3 times to get 3 points. And then you'll use this one to get 2 twice, which will bring you up to the max. Which means it takes 3 turns if you want to max cap this. But V6 changes it. So now that you have, you'll get 1 of these in a single turn. So 1. And then on the first turn, or that first skill use, you'll use this. You'll use this one, get 3 points. And then on your second turn, when the cooldown's done for Sugar Overload, you'll run that and that again. And yeah, you'll be able to do it every other turn. Because you'll easily get to the 6 confectance index points. Because there's no cooldown on this one. So that is pretty crazy as well. So that just basically makes it so much easier to max cap this and take advantage of that increase. Which, as we've seen here, we've seen here it gets even boosted up even more here. On each stack of sugar. So, but before excuse, if you have it at max, that's where you're getting that 300% damage increase from max stacked sugar. Yeah, she's pretty cracked. I feel like she's going to outdamage Klukai looking at these numbers. I'll have to see what the tests show, but she looks really cracked on max dupes. And she doesn't need Klukai. That's the funny thing. She doesn't need Klukai. She just wants Mishti because she pairs well with Mishti with her fixed key 4. Oh no, fixed key 3. And then she wants Peridia because Peridia has the support actions to really rack up those stacks of... so the more AoE attacks you have, the more support actions Peridia does, which then can trigger more stacks of sugar, which can ramp up her damage. Klukai will make it so much easier because, especially a V6 Klukai, because she can do lots of instances of corrosion damage to get all those support actions out. But you can work a little bit around that. It'll just take a little bit longer to get sugar up. But she was looking really cracked. I think she's going to be able to outdamage Klukai. Just looking at the numbers. I'm not sure here. But she looks really good with max dupes. She looks good without them. I'm not saying you need the dupes. But every single one of these looks good to me. But that's my opinion. We'll have to see the people who test them out and are actively trying them out on the server right now. I will have a follow-up video when I can look at those. But I am really liking what I'm seeing. And she's a shotgun user. They did something like Chawa on the burn team is very similar to being able to do insane amounts of damage at her V6. And so it looks like it's going to be the same situation with Lynn. And then you have Thorn Protocol, which is her gun. Increases AoE damage dealt by 5%. If AoE corrosion damage dealt, further increases. So just more damage to AoE corrosion. For each debuff held, 3% up to 9%. To a maximum of 45. So you can get... With her, you're going to get 45%. The amount of debuff she's putting out there. If corrosion damage is dealt, it's also another 10% right there. Massive amount of extra damage there. Although, I don't know if I would get the shotgun. I really like her other one. Or not her other one, the Battle Pass one, because of the stability debuff. Well, you're not even going to need the Battle Pass one. She's probably putting that debuff on them. The stability one, where they take more stability damage. So the Battle Pass shotgun's probably not that good for her. Because you don't need the debuff that it puts out. Okay. Well then. Definitely want to get her weapon. I would probably not want the Battle Pass weapon, because its main advantage would probably already be undone. Or she wants the standard attack, crit. Corrosion set. Yep. Overall, it looks really good. And I think everybody, if you've been farming for Klukai for her weapon, if you're like me, I already have her shotgun set ready to go. But yeah, that's pretty much it for her. I don't think I'm missing anything. Oh, I forgot to... I don't think I looked at the common key here yet. But her common keys, tackles 5%. Increases phase damage dealt towards enemies with debuff by 10%. I mean, pretty much every team does debuffs to some extent. So, this is a very usable one amongst pretty much anybody. So, I really like the common key as well. But that is it. That is Lind looking like a big step up in power with dupes. Now, we'll just have to see. I could be wrong. I might be reading something wrong. You can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Like I said, I'll pin it at the top if there's something I'm completely missing there. But that's pretty much it. If you like my content, if you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.